Welcome to Practicing Life podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Pitzer. Today's topic is about that paradox. The paradox for many of you who are in kind of the spiritual practice have heard to surrender but expect. So let's do a deep dive and talk about this. One of the motivations for me on doing this particular podcast today was I was speaking on another coaching program. And I was talking about surrender, and many people let me know that this helped them. And so I was like, maybe I should be sharing this experience with my audience. So here I am sharing it with you with so much love. So let's go with definitions. I like to break it down right away. So surrender, there's many definitions. One of them is going to speak to you. So surrender in the sense of like war or something along that lines is cease resistance to an enemy or an opponent and submit to authority. So cease resistance and submit to authority. Another definition is to yield to something in your possession and to hand it over to somebody with authority. So you're yielding and giving. All right. It's another definition is to give up completely or forego something in favor of something else. So kind of like this for that. Basically, surrender says, I'm going to let forces outside of me, outside of my control, outside of you, outside of your control. You're going to let these forces carry the weight, but you're still going to be open to the possibility of something working out. So let's kind of rephrase that again. Surrender, though there's many definitions of it, I'm going to speak about it from the terms of you are giving the control to forces outside of you while maintaining the possibility that things can still work out for your greatest good. So there's a couple of things about commitment and habits and choices that all go into surrender. But what I really want to address is that surrender, it's not a lazy thing. It's not inactive. It is exactly the opposite. Surrender is an active process. All right. So, from the science of how your brain works, surrender can be a challenging thing. If you imagined that you had something in your hand, so I'm going to go grab a pen, right? I am holding a pen. And so, whatever it is going on in your life that you're stuck and you are holding on to and you just can't let go. It could be anything. It could be with your career. It could be with your kids. It could be with a choice that you're making. It could be with something that you're trying to manifest. So like in my own personal life, what I was bringing up when I was on this coaching call the other day was just that I had to surrender how my book sales were doing for my newly released fantasy book. I had set my intention of what I wanted to happen with my book. I took all of the steps that I knew how to do and sought help and did the things. I did the checklist. And then the results come. And I was attached to how I wanted the results to look like. And therefore, there was some turmoil going on, some angst in my own heart. And I'm sure you can relate to this. There's probably something in your life that you have right now that you're attached to, and you just can't seem to let go of it. And therefore, there's suffering happening. Buddha, one of the, probably most known quotes about attachment is that the root of all suffering is attachment. And that's from Buddha. So when you are suffering, there's a good chance that either fear is involved or there's attachment. And fear can be involved while there's attachment, because a lot of times you can't let something go because you fear the unknown and you fear what it's going to mean. And therefore you hold on even tighter. So going back to this concept that surrender is active. You're holding on to something, you're clinging onto it, you can't let go. Well, when you surrender, you have to open up your hands and let go. That is active. You can't let go of something without releasing it, and releasing it is active. So, taking a little bit of a detour here, because something that I hear is, well, I don't give up. I'm not a quitter. Surrender and giving up are two different things. The easiest way to explain this is it's a matter of control, attitude, and energy. So when you surrender, what is really wonderful about surrender is there's ways of being that it takes within you to create. Because surrender means that you have to be a person who can accept things as they are right now. That's kind of step one. So when you surrender, you accept. It is what it is. If it's meant to be, it's going to happen. Then you have faith and trust. I'm going to clump those two together because whether you view it as trust, you view it as faith, or you view it as a combo, that is kind of step two. It's saying, okay, maybe things aren't exactly the way that I pictured them. If I could control everything that happens in this world and everything in my external environment, this is how I would want it to look. And maybe it's not looking this way right now. But in step two, you say, I have faith and I trust that things are going to work out for my highest good and my ultimate healing, my greatest potential. And that may be something different than how you originally envisioned it or pictured it or planned for yourself. It may be different than the outcome and the goal that you had in mind. But with faith and with that trust, it is saying that it's still going to be for you, not against you, but for you. And then the third piece of surrender is really you're still taking action. So just as if you were watching me on YouTube, I let go of a pin, right? I let that pin drop, right? Which is me letting go of the way that I had, the way that you had specifically planned this outcome to turn out. So you took the action of letting go, but the action doesn't stop there. When you surrender, you're still taking inspired actions towards that outcome ultimately coming. So for instance, for me in my book, my book has been released. I wanted it to have certain amount of sales. The outcome wasn't visibly there. And then I started getting into what am I doing wrong? Can you relate? Do you ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to change? And so there was where my energy was going. There was where my power was leaking. And, it is good to step back and reflect on things and consider from a detached place what you need to do differently. But that is very differently than looking at it from a perspective of what am I doing wrong versus what I could do differently to support myself versus the shame of what am I doing wrong? Why isn't this working out for me? I'm such a failure. Those are two different energies. So when you're in that third step of surrender and you're still taking committed, continual actions, it may look different with surrender versus the force of making something happen, but there's action still going on. So for me, right, I let go. I trust that the sales are going to come in even while I'm sleeping, right? Like I can wake up tomorrow and there could be bazillion amount of sales while I'm sleeping. I didn't have to do anything. That's part of step two, the trust, the belief, the faith. And then the third part of taking continual actions, I'm not giving up. I'm not walking away from it. I'm not resigned. Okay. I'm still going to take action towards it, but I'm going to do it from a detached place, just having faith and having trust. So some of the things that I am doing is I'm continuing to write book 2. I'm continuing to make my social media posts to let people know about my book. I'm continuing on with my book signing, right? There's still steps I'm taking. So let's see if I can't personalize this to you, because this could be on anything. So like for instance, let's say that maybe it's a relationship that you're attached to, and maybe you're wondering whether or not this is the right relationship for you. And you may be a person who is just feeling like you're putting your whole heart into this relationship and it's not getting reciprocated to you. So surrender. That means that you're going to accept that your partner may never change. And you're asking yourself, can you still be in this relationship with this person if this person never changes? Right? So you're going to let go of making the relationship look a certain way. And you're going to ask yourself, can I accept the relationship as it is right now, as my partner is right now? Then you're going to have faith and trust from there. Because if let's say you say, no, I can't accept this, then you know that it is the time to change your mind. It's okay to change your mind, to make a new decision and leave that relationship. But if you go in and you say, yes, I can accept this. So part 1 of your surrender, then you're going to have faith and trust that this is going to be for your highest good. Whatever conflicts come up, whatever happens again, you are going to have faith and trust that you can work through it, that you can handle it, that you'll set up your boundaries differently, which is taking action. Third step, right? So you start talking about boundaries. What am I going to do differently? How am I going to change my perspective about whatever is going on in the relationship that is causing me suffering? Like, let's say that your significant other doesn't call to let you know that they're going to be late. Like, can you change your perspective? That's taking action about what that means. Can you find something to do with your time so that this doesn't bother you? That's taking action. All right, so let's talk about it from a standpoint of your career. Let's say, for instance, that you have a coworker that really just gets on your nerves. They're not showing you the respect. All right, so let's talk about this. How can you have acceptance? Can you accept that this person is doing the best that they can? Can you accept that you can't change the other person, that you can only change yourself? Can you accept that this person may continue on to do these same traits or show you the disrespect? But can you accept that and have trust and faith that you are going to work things out between this person, or create the boundaries that you need, or go to management to allow yourself to have maybe more space, or a healthier work environment, or a healthy conversation, right? So these are all intermingled. That acceptance, the faith, the trust, the action are all intermingled. They all kind of happen at once. All right. So when you have surrender and when you have expectation, it's a paradox, but it's a paradox that works, but it works maybe differently than you originally thought. You still want to expect things to work out for you, because when you go down the line of resignation and giving up, your energy changes, your attitude changes, the way you feel about something changes. And then you're carrying around thoughts that don't serve you, that don't lift you up, that don't empower you. And then you're taking action and you're making choices out of that energy. So when you give up, you cease making effort. When you give up, you may start to feel hopeless. You're stuck. This is just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. It's the way it's always going to be. You have this hopeless mentality. You have the mentality that your fate, your destiny is sealed, and you're in resignation. So you could still have a place of acceptance of that, right? You're accepting that you're in resignation. You're accepting that you're hopeless. You're accepting that your fate is sealed. You can still have trust. You're still choosing a pattern and a strategy. You're still committed to these thoughts. And when you're committed to something, that's ultimately a form of trust and faith. And then you start taking actions from that place of, oh, well, this is how it's always going to be. I can't change my outcome. And you take actions from that. But can you see how different your actions are, how different your energy is going to be from a place of possibility versus resignation? If in my instance on the book, if I came to a place of, oh, well, I guess my dream of being an author, yes, I published my book. Yes, I can give myself credit that I put myself out there, but I'm not getting the sales. So I'm just never going to be a New York Times bestseller. I'm never going to be an Amazon bestseller, right? If I go down that train of thinking, that mindset, what you do when you go down that mindset is you become committed to that path. You're making a choice because everything in life is mental. And what you see in the external world is just a reflection of the thoughts, the energy, the hopes, all of that you're holding within yourself. And so when you turn your mental powers to resignation and hopelessness, and you take action from that place, then you're going to start seeing the external world reflecting what you created within yourself. And so this is why it is so important to set your intention, right? Some people look at it as a goal, whatever it may be for you. You're saying this is, and if I could paint my picture, if I could tell my story exactly the way I wanted it to go, this is what it would be. This is what it would look like. This is what it would feel. That's your intention. You set your intention and then you hold that expectation, having that faith, that trust, that belief that it is going to work out just the way that you have painted. And then you let go of the outcome and you detach from it. And you say that, whatever happens is going to be happening for me. The lessons that I learn is going to help me become the person that I need to be so that I can ultimately create that outcome, but it may look differently than what I had told myself the story of, how I had envisioned it and how I had pictured it. So you're still setting your intention and holding the space for that vision. You're still holding that vision. And every time your external world shows you that it is different than your picture, you're going to let go, drop it, and still hold the place within you that this vision is going to happen. And it is okay. Nothing has gone wrong, that it is turning out differently than how you expected. What you're doing is you're letting go of control and you're letting forces outside of you carry the weight for it to show up for you, how it needs to show up for you. And because you're holding that vision still, and because you can hold that vision with detachment, you're going to make decisions and choices that more align with your original goal. When you let go and you get into a place of giving up, then you're no longer going to be making aligned choices and habits and decisions from a place of your dream, your vision, your outcome is still possible. You're going to instead be closed off to it. The door is shut, and you're going to start going into a different path, a different direction, a different door. It's like a fork in the road. When you choose to surrender and detach from your outcome, but still hold your vision, let's say you're going to go to the right versus the left, right? So on the right side, you're going to hold your vision. And as you walk through one door, it's going to lead to a different door. And maybe it wasn't what you exactly planned, but you're still on the path. You're still on the right path to align to your vision. But when you get into giving up and you get into resignation, you're going to go to the door on the left, the door of no possibility. And you're going to walk through that door. And whatever you face there is going to take you that direction. And you're going to a different fork in the road. You know, maybe somewhere down the line, maybe way down the line, somehow your doors connect and you cross over to the other side. I don't really know because we don't know the future. So I want to bring up the point that no matter what you do, no matter what you do, you're committing to something. So if you go to the right side and you go towards, okay, all right, it didn't work out exactly the way I wanted, but I'm going to continue down this path, trusting and having faith that everything is going to work out. And eventually I'm going to get there. You're committed to that path and you're going to make choices. And when you make choices and you continually to make the same kind of choices, that leads to a habit, and then habits reinforce. You know, Jim Fortin, who is one of my mentors, he talks about you don't get what you want in your life, you get your habits. Well, guess what? Habits are formed by one choice. It starts off the very smallest step on a habit is making one choice. You made one choice, and that created the neural pathways in your brain that opened something up within you to create the possibility to make that same type of choice again. And then you keep making that same choice over and over, and it becomes a habit. Your habits do not have power over you. You are the thinker of your thoughts. You have dominion over your thoughts. You have dominion. I won't say you will have dominion over things that just randomly pop up into your mind, but what you ruminate on and what you hold for yourself, you do have control over. And what you become committed to, you have control over. So when you commit to that right path and you commit to, okay, I surrender. This is going to look differently, and that's okay. I'm going to keep going down to this path. You're going to make those choices. You're going to create those habits, and you're going to eventually get closer to what you wanted, maybe even better. Because if you really learn your lessons and you become the type of person, because surrender involves ways of being that create what you need within yourself to get that outcome. If you kept holding on, if you kept holding on and using force, you would not become the type of person that you need to be to allow what you want to have to happen for you. Because as long as you hold on to that control, you stay the same person, making the same choices. Force is a tricky thing because in the forefront, in the immediate mindset, in the immediate evidence, force looks like you're getting what you want. Force is like manipulation. Like, so if you are a parent and you want to get your kid to do something, sometimes you use manipulation to get what you want. I'm not saying whether this is right or wrong. I'm just saying that there's a lot of parents out there and they're going to understand this, right? Like, um, but when you use that force and that control and that manipulation, it gets you a short-term result. And eventually that gets exhausted and your long-term results don't work out. You often experience burnt out, a lot of struggle, a lot of fatigue. Do you want that? You become who you need to be to achieve the things that you want to achieve. So for me, like in the instance of my dream of, being a full-time author and having books come in that support me financially so I can be independently financial on my choice of being an author. If I'm not that person today, then that means that I need to experience some type of stress and challenges and obstacles to grow me to be the type of person who does have a career as an author. But if I use force, all I'm doing is just putting out things. I'm just spitting out immediate things that I can control, that is within my power. And I'm going to try. And I'm going to get somewhere, but I'm not going to get to the length of where I wanted to go because I didn't become a different person, because I didn't grow, because I didn't experience expansion, because I didn't become the type of person who could handle the challenges necessary to be in the role of a full-time author. The ultimate act of power is surrender. Krishna said that. There's a difference between giving up and surrender has a lot of power in it. It means that you're going to accept that things may not look the way that you want them to be. It means that you're going to accept your life lessons and grow from them. But when you grow, when you evolve, you become something more. When you get into force and you're using your will, you're going to experience resistance, fighting, struggle. And guess what those do for you? They have power over you then. When you start getting into resistance and fighting, you're really just fighting your own mental thoughts. And those thoughts you're allowing to have control over you, and they'll exhaust you. So what do you want to be committed to? Who do you want to be? What do you want to have? Surrender is the simple but profound wisdom of yielding rather than opposing. Okay? So it is very simple. You yield because there are things outside of you that are going to carry you to the place that you need to go. A quote, let me look at this because it's a quote very similar to what I was just saying. I can't remember who said it. All right, we won't go there. There's a quote where we talk about a river flowing. And rivers often aren't just a straight, perfect line that says, hey, from this point to this point, it's perfectly straight. There are no curves, there are no bumps, there are no rapids, there's no nothing. It's going to be smooth sailing, and I'm going to go from point A to point B. That's what our vision is when we create it. That's what we become attached to. But a river flows, and it's going to have rocks, and it's going to have bumps, and it's going to have points where the river is really shallow and barely anything can get by. That's the reality of holding your vision. It's saying, I surrender. I'm going to go with the flow. I'm going to take my life lessons. I'm going to figure things out as they come, and I'm going to keep on this path. Giving up is getting off of that river and going somewhere else. You're no longer taking action towards it. You're no longer putting effort in it. Force is putting a dam in the water and saying, no, it has to be this way, when I want, how I want, right now. This is the dam. I'm putting this wall up. It's happening this way. But a dam doesn't get you down to point B either. It builds up a lot of resistance. It builds up a lot of struggle. It builds up a lot of fighting. It gets you some result right away because the dam does create something. But it's not going to get you what you really want. Set your intention. Hold it. This is how you manifest. And when I say manifest, I mean when things aren't looking the way that you want them to work. You're not in resignation, you're not in giving up, and you're not putting up, the will to put that dam up. It means that in the moment that things aren't looking the way that you want them to look, you trust. You trust and you make choices from possibility to keep you in alignment with your ultimate goal. All right, I think I've beat that. You should pretty much have it really solid in your mind. Keep making choices, holding your vision. Have trust, have faith. Celebrate along the way, because that's going to be like a, what's the bomb? It's going to be like balm to your soul. Because we have ego. We have ego, friends, and ego isn't going away. And it won't. It shouldn't. Because ego is where you learn your life lessons and you grow. But your ego can get into the emotional pain, the hurt, the rejection, the failure. It can experience all of these emotions. And you have to detach from those emotions and hold your vision and make choices and actions from holding that vision, trusting and having faith that you're going to get there. And maybe it's not going to look the way you originally thought. And that's okay. All right, my friends. I have actually, for all of you authors out there, I'm going to have a guest speaker coming on really soon. Samantha, she is a book coach. She's an author herself. She does a lot of incredible things. I can't wait to have her on the show next week. I am sending you so much love. Allow surrender, because it creates power. It creates power within you, and it allows what you ultimately want to have happen, maybe in a different light, but it allows it. It creates the possibility for it. Surrender is a place of power, and it is an action. All right, friends. Love you. See you next week. And you matter.